right. Hello, everyone. Looks like we've got some attendees coming on in. So welcome everyone to our insider session for this Thursday. Woohoo. So I think we've got some really fun stuff going on for today that will really be some exciting stuff to learn. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, well, this is our partner spotlight for today, November 11th. Also, happy Veterans Day. Joining us today is, well, actually, let's go over some housekeeping items before we actually get started. So first things first, today's presentation is being recorded and will be available in the Virtuous Support Center afterwards. So if you had anybody who wasn't able to join today, that's okay. They can watch it later on. All attendees will be muted, so we can have some good old video quality between everyone who will be hosting today. And as always, please feel free to use our Zoom Q&A feature to submit questions at any time. We love questions and we love comments and we love feedback. So feel free to shoot them our way during the session. Now, I will introduce you to our hosts, Megan and Kat. Megan from Virtuous, myself from Virtuous, and Kat from ViewSpark. So show Kat a really warm welcome in here. We're really excited to have her.
Hi, everybody. Excited to be here.
I think we've got some good stuff to talk about today.
Yes, we're going to have fun.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
All right.
So are you ready to kick off, Rachel?
Yeah.
All right. Well, Kat, thanks so much for joining us and showing us about ViewSpark. I know folks will be interested. It ties in with a lot of conversations we've been having lately around multi-channel donor communications and all that good stuff. So just to start us off, can you tell us a little bit about ViewSpark?
Absolutely. Happy to be here, you guys. Thanks for joining today. And I hope I leave you with some inspiration and really fun to-dos because I live in the world of video. So at ViewSpark, we exist to help you share real-time video communications with donors, volunteers, other constituents that are part of your community as an organization. So we are video first, and that's what we're going to talk about a lot today. So as a super high-level overview, it's a tool, program, system, platform, whatever you want to call it, but it's to put the technology at your fingertips to be able to grab a quick snapshot video under a minute, we'll talk about that, of whatever the impact of your work is, the end result, the in progress, we're having a meeting to determine what's going to happen next, and taking that moment in time and sharing it directly with those that are supporting you so that they get that insider view of the difference that they're making as they partner with you in the work that you do. So that's really what we do. We want to make that as simple and easy as possible. So we have an app-based version and a web-based version of ViewSpark where you can do that very thing. And in less than about 3 minutes, you can capture the video, wrap some content and context around it, target it to the right people that we're going to know because we're working with Virtuous, and get the message out over email or text message. So that's the crux of the work. And it's an incredible part of the overall relationship building that you're going to be doing.
Great. So can you kind of walk people through the steps of using ViewSpark to send that kind of video, of how they go about it, how they shoot it, how they...
Absolutely. So without doing a full, hey, here's the product demo kind of thing,
yeah.
If you are totally interested in that, I'm more than happy to do that and have lots of caffeine every day to make that happen for you. But outside of that, the great thing is that whether you're on the desktop version or the application on your phone, whatever version you're on, it just takes a couple of minutes. And essentially, you're going to open that app up. You're going to tap on a little video screen that's like, go to my camera. You can grab something out of your library, or you could do it live. And there's a lot of this going on. Hi, selfie video. This is what's happening right behind me. XYZ is going on. Right over there, ABC is going on. You're going to save that. You're going to add a quick subject line and a little bit of contextual information, a sentence or two. I use voice to text to make that happen quickly and easily, and then just fix my spelling mistakes. And then I have a couple of options, quick toggles where I can say, yeah, I want to include a give button on this, or no, this is a pure thank you message I've done. I can tap and select my audience, populate that in there, and then tap and hit send. and send it out. So it's really, really kind of a simple tool. Of course, there's analytics and all that other good stuff and watching the donations come in and all those pieces as well. Some of that in the app, and then of course the breadth of that on the desktop version to come back and see how things are doing and what kind of messages resonate with people.
Fantastic. So kind of panning back a little bit, why is video important for nonprofits? Why should anyone be using video?
Oh my goodness. Do we have the hand raising? I'd love to know how many of you are already sort of significantly involved in video. We've all had some kind of video production work. We've all had a gala where we've shown some sort of video, but how many of you all, if you can show us, are regularly engaging donors with video content? See if we get some hand raises, and I'll keep kind of chatting. And kudos to you if you've gotten your team into that habit, because it is a huge part of the future of relationship and communications. Huge, huge, huge. I have so many statistics I could share with you. I will share a couple as we go through our time today. But essentially, video is one of the fastest growing mediums for sharing content and information, right? So as we set out to notify donors, to educate donors, to connect donors back into the reason why that they are involved with us in the first place, video is an excellent method to be able to do that. I'm not sure if you're aware of the statistics around recall of information related to video, but essentially customers retain up to 95% of the content in a video, but 10% of that content when they're simply reading it. It's an enormous impact, right? It's a huge chasm between that. So we all know this in a simple way. Just think about how much video you're consuming in your life today versus 5 or 10 years ago, right? The proliferation of entertainment channels, video streaming services, and all sorts of ways we do this on social media just shows us the propensity for people to want to consume video content. And by the way, a lot of that is very brief. So you see that in some of the other formats like TikTok or these other things. They're quick. They're quick little pieces of something funny or pieces of information. In our world, of course, we're informing, right? We're educating and informing. And sometimes those are fun as well, right? But it's all very quick and to the point. So as I mentioned earlier, we are huge proponents of the under a minute strategy. So you want something quick and easy to share. So that's just one of the big stats out there about video consumption. Also just the growth of that channel.
Fantastic. And what are you seeing with folks who are using ViewSpark with organizations? What kind of results they're getting?
Yes. So most of our organizations are using ViewSpark in addition to their current mix of communication channels. So they're not going in and swapping things out. They're adding it on top of things. And our typical frequency outside of a sort of a high season like we're heading into is going to be about a once a week update. So you have all of your campaigns going, everything you're normally doing, and then once a week, sharing this sort of insider piece of what's going on behind the scenes in a sense, right? And you can imagine what that might look like for any given organization, whether you're dealing with sheltering, food, arts and culture. There's going to be some kind of update that you could be sharing with something that's, it's small enough of a detail that it's not even going to make it to social media. It's certainly not going to be in a printed newsletter or anything like that, but it's a piece of information nonetheless that would make me feel really connected to the cause. I just had a conversation this morning. I just spoke to this family. We're heading into this big meeting. It's going to determine our future direction. So it's updates like that, essentially.
Yes, that does make sense as part of a broader strategy too, of like folks might have a more produced video strategy going on of, like you said, like we're showing a video at a gala or we're doing those kinds of things. But this is kind of more like the equivalent of like picking up the phone for the old school folk.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Yes. And the more transparent, the better. What we actually see is, you asked me about results and I'll get a little more specific. What we see is that the rawer that content, the better this video does. And in terms of what does it mean? It does well. So number one, I mentioned that, so much of this is news kind of update. It is relationship building, it's stewardship focused, but there is a give button that you can include. So though probably 80+%, I think these days, of the messages crossing ViewSpark are all thank you, here's what's happening, those kind of messages. I would say 70+% of those messages included a give button on the page anyway. Okay. And that's where they're seeing the return. So an average client for us is returning about a 10-to-1 ROI on our cost, which is the base subscription thing monthly, right? So 10-to-1 is pretty strong. So at the high end, I see people that are 15 to 20 plus, usually in sort of social services areas. At the low end, 4 to 6-to-1. So really significant return for what you're expecting. Now on other kind of metrics, engagement, response, what we see is reactivating people who have not been paying attention because video is their thing. So suddenly you have this sort of subset of the population that becomes these responsive to ViewSpark people, right? They love the video thing. They like the consistency. Every week I'm getting this insider update, that kind of thing. So we see that happening. We see people moving into a monthly gift relationship versus the single gift relationship with us. So there's all sorts of, sort of additional activity you can awaken by bringing the medium in whatever way that you're getting that video out there.
Great. So if people are just getting started, what are some first steps you recommend as they're creating this?
Let me give you some, if you're going to send a video out down and dirty, here's what you, the minimum need to make happen for video. So keep it short. Number one, we talked about under a minute, about 49 seconds is the ideal length. And you can see all kinds of studies where additional viewership drops off at the minute mark and at the 90-second mark and so forth. So you're going to get the bulk of your audience watching about 49 seconds of your update. So keeping it short and brief. That might mean someone in your organization has to do a little practice about how to get their 2-minute long message down in under that minute time frame, but it's well worth it because it really will come across well. The other thing is to be real and authentic. So the more transparency you show, and this is a great layer of additional, just being able to show transparency for an organization. A lot of people are trying to find ways to do that better, especially in our younger audiences who are looking for real, tell me what's really happening there. And I have a level of mistrust with organizations that have been around a long time. So this is a great way to sort of add that piece in there. So you need to be real and authentic. No business suit, no, unless that's your brand, you don't want to go off brand either, but don't dress it up, right? Don't stand in front of the, your brand and the whole thing. Be walking, be going over to talk to someone, be in the space where the work is happening. Even if you have a sensitive topic where you can't show, if you're working with children, things like that, find a creative way to have some background. But at the end of the day, if you don't even have anything that seems sort of active and live, go stand outside in front of a tree and do a quick selfie video and speak from the heart about what's really going on and how that donor is really making a difference in all of it. That's all it takes to make it happen. So I would say keep it short, keep it transparent, and, of course, always tying it back in your conversation to the donor, to the volunteer, to the constituent that you're trying to reach out to.
That's great advice. Wonderful. So Rachel, can you tell us a little bit about how this integration works or how people can start using Virtuous?
Yeah, so I definitely want to add, because I think it's such a fascinating idea that, this form of media can be so compelling, especially when it's something that's so organic, right? Sometimes when I think off the top of my head, oh, we have to do video, we got to get the lighting to come in, we got to get our fancy edits in, we got to put on our business suits, we got to put on our makeup and all that stuff. But really hearing it just being like, oh, all you have to do is just take a selfie by a tree. And like, it's that simple. I think that's so easy, right? That's something that takes such little time, but can be so compelling, right? It can make such a huge difference for donors to really see from the field, like what's actually going on. So I think that's just
tell you a great example that you just inspired me to remember, which is an organization we're working with that's sheltering homeless folks in a colder weather area. And one evening, there's a system where they do a white flag outside. That means we're open, come on in. If you just need to come in from the cold, you don't even have to register or anything, just come in and we'll provide you some warmth. And they went and stood outside in the middle of a snowstorm, and the audio was horrendous. You can barely tell what they're saying, but obviously there's a situation with the weather and they're there to provide housing. So, the wind is whipping across the phone microphone. You can barely see him visibility. One of the best performing ViewSparks they ever sent out because it was real. It was just everybody else is at home, by the way, nice and warm, hopefully, in their homes going, I can identify with that. I can't go out tonight because of the weather. And heaven forbid anyone else has to be out in it as well. So very, very authentic.
That's great. And when you think about, like, this is where video really shines, in that there's no way to bring all of your donors to the snowstorm.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Or, even more, a little less dramatic. Like, it would be pretty onerous to bring everyone into your office to see that your meeting just let out and have a new plan and you're high-fiving each other. You can't bring everyone in that way, but with video, you really can.
Yeah.
In a way that is just different than saying, hey, good news, this happened. Here are some words about it.
Or how many of us are trying to pull people into events at the mid and major level, right? Mm-hmm. And we're just like, come on down, let's set up a tour, let's do a thing. And there's only so many of them we're actually going to get through whatever our doors are. Mm-hmm. And the ability to share pre or post an event that they're not going to make it to and just say, wish you were here, but here's what we covered. XYZ, and here's the space. Or internationally speaking, that it's really powerful because they're maybe never going to see a site that's in another country, but with someone standing there saying, hey, this is the well that just went in, and these are the kids enjoying that 45 minutes ago or just now, or however that is. It's really powerful.
So cool, so engaging. Yeah, well, that's so awesome that and we have all these statistics to back that up. So if you were to consider using video in your strategy today, especially for our virtuous users who might be considering throwing it into their different strategy, and here, let me share my screen here, just so I can show you what that can look like. So once I pull this in, if I go to marketing, right, I can create an email, and I can just even plug in video right in here. Now, the video won't play from the email, but I can decide, let's pull up some random email list in here. We'll go with general. Yeah, we'll call this the video email. And right, Kai, if I recall, does video actually have an impact on whether people are going to click a little more if it's in the subject line?
Yeah, let's talk about that. So we actually did some significant testing about telling people that it's a video it's attached to this and that you might want to look at it. And we saw a 60% increase in people opening whatever we're sending, whether that was or clicking through on text or opening the email. What we see in general is that emails that are including video can actually increase your click-through rates up to 300% once people start to realize that that's the kind of content that you're sharing. It can also reduce the unsubscribe rate to what's going out, and that there's probably, I think the latest, I'm looking from two different sources of two different studies, but between 75 and 90% higher click-through rates once they get to the click-through options.
Oh my gosh, wow, so powerful. And I will say, as someone who has previously worked in nonprofit and has occasionally used video in emails and used emails without video, I remember seeing like a significant difference in the click-through rates. So can attest to that for sure, right? So, right, when I'm adding an email in Virtuous, it's as simple as dragging and dropping this video portion right in here, adding the URL, boom, you can send out that email. Easy peasy. So, right, for something that takes such little time, that can have such great impact, like, wow, what a powerful thing to have.
Absolutely. And the nice thing too, with our system, you can have multiple people participating in that process if necessary. So in a lot of cases, we have one of the users on the system is bringing in the content because they're at a field location or in some other place where the work may be happening. And we can set them up with limited access in the sense that they can save the content there for review by someone, at corporate who's in more of that publishing role that decides what certain donors get to see. So there's a lot of sort of coordination, cooperation that can happen across the organization.
That's so awesome. Well, all right. So I
was wondering something.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about, lately I've been thinking about multi-channel year-end fundraising. In fact, sneak peek to Virtuous Insiders. I have not sent anyone an email yet, but there is a webinar next Wednesday on this very topic. I will put the landing page link in the chat. So during the year-end season, where I think there's a higher premium on supporters' attention just because everyone's going for it. Everyone's like, every brand they've ever bought anything from, every nonprofit they've ever walked by is sending them appeals and offers. And it seems like these hyper personal videos could be a good way to cut through the noise. And I wondered, Kat, if you had any experience with people using your platform during this.
Yes,
In interesting
absolutely.
ways.
Definitely, I talked about the sort of weekly cadence before, and that's great for most of the year. But this time of year, of course, you're going to increase that a little bit, especially around giving days, especially around year end, all of those kind of critical pieces. And one of the methods is not just to the sort of mass audience, which it is so helpful because you can bring such a one-on-one experience to a lot more people, and we're all focused on that, but also even just to either prime a conversation or do a thank you for gifts that are already coming in on a one-on-one basis. You can select just the one donor at, hey, Tim and Marcia, I just want to thank you so much. We just saw this come in. It's going to be, it's going to make XYZ possible. And we're so grateful for you. So that's one of the potential uses, but definitely around, let's take Giving Tuesday, right? It's such a big example. Everybody's preparing for that and such a big piece of things. Now, you're probably going to send a before, during, after video. Before, hey, we're gearing up. This is going to happen. Here's our goal. Here's why it's so important. Not just because it's the big give day, but we have a goal of this amount because we're going to try to accomplish X, or we're going to fill this gap. We're going to meet this need, right? Tying it back to that. And then you're going to have a during. Hey, here's where we're at in the process. Here's how it's going so far. And this is a live update. I mean, a thermometer is one thing, and those are great for live update. But if, physical interaction almost with someone saying, here's why it's so important, and here's what we need, and here's why, it's totally different than the 3 email series that's coming through, which is also important and also raises tons of money, right? But you're going to get to some different people with these different methods. And that's why multi-channel is so important. You see this here, then you walk over and see that, then you get this piece, right? And they all work together. And this is just another layer to be able to add to all of that. I would say too, the other thing is, it's one thing about if you have something that's really tangible as your offer, it's one thing to send the email about it that's just like talking about it and how much that costs and what you can do. It's another thing to have a video of the forklifts, moving the food around, or people delivering a meal, or people, meeting with others and providing services. It's just that much more tangible for people at this time of year.
Great.
I love that. They're just like, right, there's so many senses built into video that are not really built into plain emails. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but right, just the sound, the sight, the just the energy it brings to it, right? You can feel people being excited. And I think that can really be so compelling, which is probably why video is so successful at this point.
Yeah. And I would say a last minute advice, as I see the couple of minutes we've got here, it's easy for me to talk about this. I love talking about it. I could get on video and make a video any day. Not everybody is comfortable in that space. So my encouragement is, and I've learned this as I've worked with so many different types of people and leaders, to get them on video is, it's difficult to set aside the fear of seeing yourself. This is why you don't see, we should see a lot more video on LinkedIn, and we don't, because you stop and you go, I don't know what I look like. I don't know what, that sounded weird. I did 3 takes and I still, I'm not happy with it. And oh gosh, there's a lot that can be a hurdle for a lot of people. And I think my encouragement and advice to you is, don't ever forget that the news cycle is short. If you make a mistake, if you seem to fumble, it's only going to show people that you're human and vulnerable, and it's only going to make it more relatable for them. You're a real person running a real organization who really cares about the work that's being done. So as much as you can kind of move past that and set aside some of those concerns, I promise you it gets very easy. If it's not your natural state, it will become so, because I know, and when I've met with you in person, I've seen you shine with people when you talk about the work that you're doing. And that will come across in the video as that pure authenticity that will really make a difference in relationships.
Absolutely. I think that's such a good way to think about it too, because I don't blame anyone who's a little camera shy having those initial fears. But I think, your supporters know that you're not a movie. Yes. They know that you're an actual person there. So sometimes I do remind myself as a person who like spends a lot of time on camera here at Virtuous that this is authenticity, that we're in my not particularly inspiring office. And sometimes my hair looks weird, you guys. Sometimes it just looks weird. And that's fine.
And it's okay. And honestly, again, I can't emphasize enough how when you bring that authenticity to the table, people really respond, because it's a new era, I think, for nonprofit and for so many other areas, but definitely in the trust building stages with some of the younger donors, there's different stakes in the game now. And being able to really, I always say, pull back the curtain and say, this is what we're doing over here. And this is why you're needed in that process will determine the future of the relationships we have with these donors over the next 20 years. So.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much, you guys, for sharing. Does anyone have any questions they like to ask Kat, Megan, or myself? I don't see any extra ones in the chat. So let me see. Yeah, so all right. Well, I think that seems to be pretty straightforward. Yeah, so there's lots of good stuff going on, good inspiration for how you might finish off your year strong or even start the new year strong. It's so weird to say 2022 is coming right around the corner. Oh, my goodness. That also said, no more questions here. So if there aren't any questions, don't forget to tune in next time. We do have our Virtuous Insider every Thursday at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Next Thursday is going to be our hour-long training session. So we'll bring the training team on board here at Virtuous to show you how to do some really cool stuff in Virtuous. And we do like to send you off with some interesting thoughts from some really smart people. So we like this quote: video lets people convey the power and beauty in a moment through sight, sound, and motion, right? Kind of bringing us back to that point before about how like there's so many more sensations involved in video. So that is probably something that makes it so much more compelling. And I know having a dad joke from Jason has become recently a big part of ending these as well. So, and I'm really excited about this one. So I'm really excited to present. All right, so here we go. I was recently asked in a job interview if I could perform under pressure. I said, not really, but I can crush Bohemian Rhapsody.
Love it.
Jason.
So I do love that part. And I will introduce one more thing because it is a busy season. I just want to give everyone a quick reminder to take a deep breath in through your belly. Let it out. I know I tend to hold my breath throughout the day, so sometimes that quick reminder can be really helpful in those stressful moments that, you know, we're doing it. We're here. It's okay.
We got this.
Any final thoughts from you, Kat or Megan?
I don't have any cool quotes to share. I'm just passionate about video. So if you ever want to talk about video, I'm always around.
Love to hear it. Well, thank you so much, Kat and Megan, for joining us today on our wonderful Insider session. As always, everyone, tune in every Thursday. We'll do this again, and we'll see you then. Go team.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.